Welcome back to the Tailosive EV podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest. He's back from the dead. Randy took his car. All of it
it's
is
Cookie
falling
Monster.
into place.
It's Mike.
Hi. I definitely
Mike was
bought a
gone.
Performance Model Y. That's great. I love my Performance Model Y. It's such a great car. No,
Nick,
I took.
You're right. I did take his car.
You basically
forgot.
did. He was gonna get it and then canceled it after 2 months, 3 months. I forget. How long did it take?
Yes.
We're going to hold you to this.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Well, I guess.
What, I've never been on this show before. What do we do here?
So there is this promo video that I did a few years ago where you can see that I refined the content without uncompromising integrity. Tailosive EV podcast. When we look at the refinements of what we did. Anyway, so Nick.
Back in version 0.
Back in version 0. So Nick, let me ask you a question. Only because it's proper for this show. What vehicle are you rocking now?
Well, hi guys. My name is Nick. I
Hi,
was
Nick.
previously on this podcast a while ago. I am now a Tailosive fellow, which means that you got fired, but they're too nice to say that you got fired. But they still have you back on occasion, so hello. The Tailosive EV podcast was my brainchild, and yes, Randy and I, many, many years ago, did a fun little ad celebrating its introduction. What car am I currently driving? Well, it's the same bucket of rust that I was driving around last time we talked, which was about a year ago. Still driving that 2008 Ford Escape. I'm going to drive that thing into the ground at this point and pay the gas bill for it. So, fun times.
Good luck.
All three of you are like, what are gas bills? What is that?
Well,
Mike very much knows.
I was gonna say I've got a Ram 1500 that definitely is eating away at the wallet. But I guess before we get into all that, and of course being worried about the Cybertruck, and everything surrounding that,
I can say it, but I'm not going to.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see how long that takes for us to get you to say it.
Do it.
So, Nick, I think was it last time you were on the podcast? I wasn't here. Unfortunately, I didn't get to partake in the wonderful conversation of switching to a hybrid or whatever. I was very disappointed in that. But you did mention maybe getting like a Camry or a Corolla or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But now that the unfortunate news that Chevy is discontinuing the Chevy Bolt, their prices already are pretty low. I think at this point they're only going to get lower. Why not go for something like that?
To be honest, I know zero things about Chevy Bolts, so except they explode.
Even better.
So do they.
No, I'm most aware of the Chevy Bolt from 2014 or 15, whenever they introduced it. I haven't really been following it very closely. I was a little surprised to see that they were canceling the entire line, because I felt like that was kind of the one thing that Chevy was known for on the EV side.
Yeah.
And they just canceled it. So I'm like, I guess Hummer now? Question mark? Question mark? Exclamation point? Question mark? I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know. As far as what personal vehicle choice I'm going to be getting, I don't see a reason to get a new vehicle until my current one breaks, which could be sooner than later. We'll see. But yeah, I'm just trying to run my current car down to the ground because my work environment is, let's just say, not conducive to nice vehicles.
That makes sense, I guess. It does have a range of, I think, 260 miles, which isn't too bad for something that can kind of seat 4 people and all that. It's more of like a compact and all that if you're just getting the regular Bolt and not the EUV that they just released as an option, I think, was it like a year and a half ago, it feels like, or something like that.
Yeah, maybe 2 years.
Kind of insane, very quick half-life. Though I guess was the Honda Clarity only got like 6 months to a year on the market, and they're like, yeah, we're not going to make this thing anymore.
Really?
Yeah, so things have been killed off quicker.
Why? Why are motor companies like just killing these off so quickly?
I don't know. At least for the
Because
Chevy,
that's the future. Everyone says it's the future.
probably. I think the
It's
reason
literally in some laws that this is going to be the future.
I don't think you're wrong, but I do think at least with the Chevy Bolt, the idea around it is the fact that uh, it has too many problems already on the production line, has too many problems off the production line when people are using it, whether it's charging it or even just using it in general. Uh, and along with that, it doesn't share the same platform as their upcoming vehicles like the Equinox, the Blazer, uh, what the Hummer's on right now, and a bunch of other cars that they're
Ultium.
going to be. Yeah, the Ultium platform. And so I think their idea is this thing has way too many issues. We're sinking a bunch of money into it. It's already at a very low price that we're not making a profit off of it. Let's just can it.
Mm.
And so that's why I think maybe it's not a bad idea. Is like if you're looking for something with a pretty cheap price tag that can get you a pretty decent distance.
Don't they explode though?
I think they fixed that. And if
I
not,
hope
you
they
can
fix that.
you can take it into a service center and they'll fix it they'll fix it for free for you, I think. So
Oh, well, ain't that nice of them?
yeah, the only thing you have to worry about is trying to charge it and it actually accepting a charge. Except the nice new, or maybe not nice new problem, but at least new problem for Tesla owners is that you can plug it in as a supercharger. So you can just do that. And
then wait there for 10 hours as it charges at 4 amps.
so now you're just poking holes into my theory here, but that's totally fine. I'll recover somehow. Yeah.
I find it kind of relieving that there won't be continued production of an EV that's capped at 50 kilowatts, basically. I feel less stressed about our potential open supercharger network now because it means all the GM EVs built in 2024 are going to have bare minimum, I think, Hummer does like 350, right? Silverado probably at least 200 kilowatts or so. So I, in previous episodes, said that was a concern that like we're flooding the market with a bunch of slow charging EVs, and now I feel like that's probably not going to be the case now. So it was a bit sooner than I expected, though. I would have rather them update it so that it could support faster speeds, but my theory is that it's probably just they're losing too much money on it. It was way cheaper than everything else on the market, and it sounded like such a great deal. Too good to be true, probably because it is. And as they finally fixed the battery problems and scaled it up, they're like, okay, we're delivering these at mass. Oh, we're losing a lot of money. This isn't a good idea. So
Greg,
probably
are we supposed to be making no money on these? No, Gary.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was a similar story as Ford, you know, when they unveiled their EV side of the business. They're like, yeah, every car we lose like $20,000 on. So that kind of eats into your motivation of wanting to sell EVs or wanting to scale production of them if they're costing you that much. So GM wasn't as transparent to clarify what the margins were on the Bolt, but my theory is that they were really bad because they were selling it for super cheap. So I think everything GM does in regards to electric vehicles is all about what looks good for PR, you know, like want the president to give us a pat on the back, and I want to claim we have the most affordable EV and the fastest charging EV, but like in the worst possible way. It like barely fits that. And now they're moving away from CarPlay, which I found interesting.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
GM made this official announcement saying we're going to be dropping CarPlay in favor of having our own in-house design OS, which is going to be...
Lord help us.
I don't know if Mike... I know Nick didn't get to share his thoughts, but do you think that's a bad idea, Mike? Or
Good question. I think it'll... So how I interpreted that announcement is kind of the way that I thought, or at least how am I trying to say this? Long story short, I experienced Ford's in-house way of infotainment and all that with Sync. Sync 3 and I think Sync 2 at the time when I tried it out. And it was not a fun time. It was not a fun experience. I was never really a fan of Legacy Auto's version of either their own in-house infotainment or third parties because it was always slow, clunky, or just didn't look good at all. So Agreed. To go with this idea that GM is going with where it's their own built-in infotainment, vertically integrated, or however they're going to do it, concerns me, especially when like you've got entities like Android Auto and Apple CarPlay there ready to kind of stitch things together, and they've already proved on previous Chevy vehicles that it works, and it works well. So it does have me concerned, but seeing stuff like Lucid adapting CarPlay into their system and it not really having a good time with it because it's a square and it's circular or wedge hole is maybe a reason why they think they could just do it better without having to make deals and all that. I think they're basically in money saving mode right now, and that was just another thing that they had on the list of like, make your own stuff, like your own infotainment, or else we're gonna lose X amount of dollars this year in terms of like thousands and millions. So maybe it's more of like a financial scare that's pushing them towards this.
I see. What about you, Randy? Do you think there's hope for GM? Should I buy their stock? Is that your financial advice?
You have to pay me for my financial advice.
Ooh. Oh, okay.
And it ain't cheap.
And
cost you
Actually,
2 children.
I paid you this morning.
Thank you, by the way. Well, yeah. With that context out there, no, don't buy the stock. Don't buy the stock. Please don't buy the stock. No, do I think there's any hope for these guys? They got. We've talked about this. It had to been when you and I were holding on the fort, Drew. But do you, Nick and Mike, would you agree with the thought that these legacy automakers are just they're being very reactionary to everything that basically Tesla's doing, and then Tesla alike, whether albeit Rivian or what have you. But when I look at what Chevy's trying to do, it's not because it's for the good of the customer or good of even them believing in the product yet. I feel like everything is very reactionary. They discontinue now the Bolt because, well, we don't know, but it's very safe to say it's because they're losing money on it, which means they don't care about adoption rate. It's not about adoption rate for them. It's just strictly cha-ching, cha-ching. Any company that's been around that long, GM, Ford, blah, 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 these guys are too stuck in there. Like I think what I feel the only way we would have hope for these companies is if you had new blood in the leadership positions, a new CEO, a new board, a new all that stuff that actually they don't have that the Congress syndrome where everyone's like 80 plus years old and they're telling you how things are good. Let's get some new blood in here.
Back in my day, the Model T sold pretty good.
Can TikTok access the home Wi-Fi?
Not that again.
Yeah, that again. Until like they actually like their alignment is out of sync with everything else of why they haven't quite figured out why Tesla is so successful, and until they like really make their own identity with this, I don't think GM's gonna. There's nothing GM's gonna do that's be like, wow, that's great. They will wait. All these guys will wait until like, oh look, now we have a long enough battery range. 5 to 10 years from now, we'll be like, look, we can sell these at mass, and it's just strictly numbers for them. The only thing that is forcing them to do all this stuff is like, we have to transition by this deadline that we will be no more fossil fuel vehicles will be sold here, and so they're not even thinking.
They're all like, "Oh yeah, okay, we'll get there."
Here you go. We're good. Right. I need an extension. But yeah, no, I feel, and I want to know because I know where Drew stands on this. Do you guys feel like do you agree with my synopsis on that, or do you have a different, more nuanced take on that? I think that these guys they're too stuck in their ways. They all they care about is a bottom line dollar, and I get it. So is Tesla to a certain point of view, but they started with the right intention here. That like the product is what drives the success. So it's a byproduct because they're being successful and bottom line's looking good. It's a byproduct of doing what they are actually like. No, this is our vision. We're not stopping at this. This is why we don't sell hybrids or anything else. This is the product. As long as GM's selling these other vehicles that are more profitable, and Ford as well, and Honda, and Toyota, you name it, everybody's got their own different thing. They are stuck by the price tag, but that's what I feel, at least.
I guess for me it's the question of whether or not the company can pivot, and I don't see any of the general automakers even trying to pivot over the past decade. Like, I mean, Tesla was on the map in 2014, so we're pushing a decade of like everyone knew Tesla was the future, everyone knew EVs are the future for the past decade. And yes, Ford has done the most popular electric pickup truck, and yes, Ford has made the Mach-E, which is a mockery of the whatever. pick your favorite.
Mockery. That's what it stands for.
Mockery of the
malarkey.
of the
malarkey.
And the malarkey guy's very proud of the Mach-E.
It was malarkey.
And
made in Mexico.
And made in Mexico, exactly. I just don't see a lot of ambition towards the electric future, which I myself am convinced of the electric future. I think it's an inevitability that we'll all be driving electric vehicles. For me, it's just the cost. Like, I just cannot justify depreciating that as something that is that expensive. Like, the way I treat my current car, let's just say I'm not worried about paint. You guys see how I treated the van that we have? Parked it right next to a rocket launch, and now it's missing the back half of it. So there's an element to waiting for EVs to decrease in price to a point where it does make sense for everyone to have one. But it's going to be a while till we're at that point, because you still see 20-year-old cars on the road just fine now. And unfortunately, the pivot wasn't made a decade ago. We could have been halfway through this transition already. But it wasn't made. They haven't even started yet in earnest. Like, yes, they've started, but like, have they?
Kicking and screaming.
I don't think they have. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I think it'll still be another 2 decades. But go ahead.
Right. To answer your question, Randy, I have a different theory. It's the fact that GM's whole idea about electrification, or specifically Chevy's, is that every single product in their line is on the Ultium platform, and also has an E and a V in the name. Now, Bolt does not have an E and a V in the name. It has EV at the end, the BOLT space EV, but that doesn't count. And the EUV version of it has a U in the middle of it, so it doesn't even count either. So it makes sense why they killed off the Bolt, because it doesn't have the word EV in it. Kind of like the Silv E Rado, except that doesn't have EV in it either, because it's a VE. Wait a sec. Or the Blaze Herb, I guess that has an E in it, but there's no V in it. So, yeah, there's no E in the Bolt, I guess is what I'm trying to say, which means, of course, it got killed off. It makes total sense. It doesn't go with their company brand.
That's a good point. Everything in the Ultium platform, I think Doug DeMero brought that up. Everything in the Ultium platform has the special E in the name. Where do you put that in? You could change the spelling. It's the
belt.
Bolet. The belt. What should we name our next EV? And they hold up the mic. Built.
Perfect.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I would.
Go ahead.
I actually don't think I got to make my case last time Nick was here, but I think an Aptera would be good for him.
Ooh. Calling out Nick.
I think you underestimate just how much beach driving I do. Just about every day I drive about 5 miles through loose sand.
Yeah, and there's an off-road version.
Yeah.
I will take a video and show you what's in the back of my car. Let's just say I have no room in my car, and I have a
How many cubic
subcompact
feet
SUV.
do you think it is?
I have taken out the back rows of seats, and so it's just the driver and the passenger seat.
What year's your
And it's
Escape,
about,
by
I
the
guess-
way? What year is your Escape?
2008.
Okay.
So if you want to scam me and steal my identity, I drive a white 2008 Ford,
That's what I need right now.
Perfect.
which is a matter of public record.
Okay. Good.
And I will not tell you what year I purchased it.
Not the VIN
What's the
either.
question? Yeah, storage. Like it's full. Like the whole back area is just always full. Like I
What's
have
it
a
full
Starlink
of?
box in there, tripods. Boxes of components, lots of boxes of components, cameras, camera equipment, cases, robot cameras, boxes of microphones. I have a couple Starlinks floating around there on occasion, bags of tools, drills, drill bits, 2x4s sometimes. Just like it's a work vehicle, and
Yeah.
it's not made for passengers, and it's not really. It's a very specific. I've made it be very specific. And
Well, they'd have the two
There's-
seats in common.
they would. Like I have thought about that. Like the number of times I actually need more than one passenger seat is like very few. Like most of the time I don't even need a passenger seat, which is when I have my passenger seat loaded up with junk. But then on occasion I do have to take someone around, and I just stick that junk on the top of the other pile.
Sure.
It's a mess.
So I guess
but yeah.
in the Aptera, Nick, it's got about, I think, 25 cubic feet of storage space. And that's basically the
32.
same amount.
Do the
That's-
math on.
That's the same amount that
3
you
feet
have
by
when
4
your
feet by
seats
6
are
feet.
folded up in the back. So if you
that
fold
would
down
work.
your seats, but you've removed your seats, it would be about
Yeah.
66 feet or cubic feet that you
Okay.
have. But you've taken out the seats, so it's now like probably, I don't know, 75 or
100
70 or
probably.
something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
close to 100. And so you would be working with a quarter or a little less
Yep.
than a quarter.
Well,
than what you got.
and I'm not saying I couldn't switch up the way I do stuff to make an Aptera work. Like, that's a distinct possibility as well.
Mhm.
But then again, it's also a few $1,000 piece of junk that I already have, as opposed to a $20,000 EV that I'd have to buy. And so I'm going to Dave Ramsey the heck out of this car, and when the wheels fall off is when I'll go get a new car.
Well, you're over here putting yourself in more debt, and you're just being stupid.
Just a dead snowball, ladies and gentlemen. Just a dead snowball.
If you were to take a look at that, how much do you think that interest rate's going to be? Right, you're stupid.
Don't need to see the inside of a restaurant unless you work in it.
You inspired me, Drew. I had to practice my Rams. Well, it's that generational wealth. That's what you want to be working on over there.
That got me thinking, because I've seen some people speculating, right? Because the good news is the prices are going down, and the used market is also in decline as of late, which makes
Thank
a lot of
goodness.
EVs more affordable for people. But I've seen some people on Twitter suggesting Tesla take over the financing rather than push it out to a bank, so that Tesla could offer lower interest rates and therefore make the
They still have
vehicles
banks?
cheaper. There's a couple left. Just a few.
They still have those?
Yeah, just a little bit. But at least that idea I thought was less stupid than advertising. But I'd be curious of your guys' thought if you think Tesla taking over the the actual loaning portion is a bad
They should
idea.
go all in on advertisement.
Do you think the problem is people don't know about Tesla, or that people can't afford a Tesla? Because I don't
If
think
you can't spell it, you shouldn't use it in a sentence. That's what my poppy always told me.
Poppy. Oh dear.
Oh dear.
I've gotten into so many advertising arguments over the past 2 weeks.
I'm glad you've been able to scratch that itch, Drew, because it sounded like last week and the week before you really wanted to start a fight with someone, and you got your wish.
Well, not quite. No one had a good argument.
Well, I maybe you didn't get that itch.
I might have to reach out to the people directly, but they look busy. I don't know if I care enough.
I don't know. To answer your original question, Drew, I'm not too sure. I think they're doing just fine as is right now. I don't think they need to. I don't think Tesla needs to make any more money. So I guess maybe what I'm thinking is the fact that like they're already they've got so much bandwidth or like overhead in terms of like whatever they can price the Model Y. I mean, heck, the Model Y now costs I think $700 less than the national average for the cost of a new car, I think. So
RAV4, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, right. And then the Model 3 is now in contention to like being the most affordable, maybe not car, but like new. I forget what the report was, or at least what the saying was, but like it's
cheaper than a Prius.
It's cheaper than a Prius, I guess. And so
Have you guys talked about the new Priuses?
I wanted to talk to you about the new Preus because I think it came out. I think the announcement, or I guess maybe some of the specs came out around just after, or right before you did the podcast with Randy and Drew, Nick, and I wasn't able to come. And I wanted to pick your brain on it because you mentioned Camry and Corolla. I'm like, why not the new Prius that looks just as good? Yeah, it doesn't have as much storage space as your Escape, but like it's a lot sleeker. It gets a whole lot better gas mileage, or at least equivalent than what the previous one had. And I would say it's like a nice new generation for the Prius that I think comes at a decent cost. That it sounds perfect for you.
I will say one thing. The 2023 Prius makes me worried about a Cybertruck.
He said it.
I said it, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey.
I said it.
Said the thing.
It looks beautiful. That car is beautiful. The 2023 Prius is a gorgeous car, especially in silver. It was very futuristic. It's like finally we're in the future, right? Like the Cybertruck, hopefully at some point, maybe tomorrow, please, in 2 weeks, for the love of goodness gracious, please.
Gracious.
Maybe the Cybertruck will be out there soon on the roads, and then we'll get like these Priuses. Like it's just a Prius. Like everyone will have a Prius in a few years, and that's just gonna be what our roads look like. That's so cool. I like it. Would I get a brand new car? Probably not. If it's not a Tesla, I probably won't be getting a brand new car. So
That's fair.
Oh well.
It does look good. I like what they did with the design. There's some by my local dealers, so I've seen it in person a few times, and it's much better looking. Somehow the coefficient of drag took a hit. I was kind of surprised by, but a little over 40 miles of all-electric range is decent for a plug-in. It was a little more pricey than I was anticipating, though. It starts at like $33,000, which is kind of up there when you consider it's still got a combustion engine in it. But yeah, as long as they switch the whole thing over to electric someday, I'll forgive them. Yeah. But
one of these
it
days
is not this day.
Well, they're new, kind of like what Randy mentioned before, with like CEOs kind of being stuck in a rut and like being set in their ways. Toyota just switched over their CEO to a new guy who's not Mr. Toyota. They're now someone else. And which
Mr. Prius.
Mr. Prius, sure, we'll just call it that. Or him that, my bad. And maybe that's what they need, at least to either electrify the Prius in 2024, like actually bring it to a full electric, or just come out with a whole new EV that's not the BZ4X and can keep its wheels on and all that.
Excuse me.
Wow.
That's not the BZ. That's my requirement for their next EV.
Just not the
Don't
BZ4X.
be the BZ4X.
exactly.
There's been a lot of them here in the Bay. Those and also Solteras that I've seen hit the road. They finally, some cargo ship brought a huge shipment of them into the Bay Area, and I'm seeing them all over now. That plus, I think maybe every, I don't know, maybe every 20, maybe not every 20th, maybe every 50th car is now like a Lightning, which is pretty insane.
Really?
Yeah, they're getting that much more common, which I'm very surprised by. I've seen, like we were talking before, a couple of the new Prizes around. I'm like, hey, it's the thing. I think I saw one that was actually a HEV, the hydrogen version of it. And I'm like, didn't know that they made a HEV version. So I need to do a little bit of research on my end to see if they actually did, or if I'm just interpreting a badge wrong. But yeah, I think maybe there is hope at least for Toyota to go electric fully. But I think this new
they got new blood.
Yeah, they got new blood. But at least this project's probably been in the oven for a while, getting ready to finally become a nice golden brown that it is right now, and become something that is actually a beautiful Prius, like it originally was. Because the original Prius, if you guys didn't know, was a sedan, or like, well, I mean, what I'm trying to get at is it looked like a regular sedan, like regular kind of bubblish curve and all that, not like whatever the Preus Prime and the 2021 Prius looked like. It actually had some nice blending in style that was a little bit modern for the time, I think, or at least didn't look obscene in my opinion. So it's a nice return to form.
Yeah.
I gotta look. Hang on. Let me pull up. I forgot what the original one looked like. I have a thought of it in my head, but I don't know if my thoughts betray me. Your thoughts betray you.
Well, while you're looking it up, Nick, why does the Prius make you worried about this? I've never been more positive about the Cybertruck at this point.
Oh, I say worried as in I might not get the Cybertruck because the Prius looks pretty beautiful.
Oh, okay. I would say Cybertruck's still going to be the ultimate work vehicle for you. Definitely. Much more so.
Definitely, but also the Cybertruck's going to be like $90,000. What's the latest rumor on that? I guess I don't know what the latest rumor on the Cybertruck pricing is. What is the latest rumor on that?
Well, I don't know about price. I haven't heard any pricing rumors, but in the last earnings report, I don't know if you saw, there was several updates on the production tooling. They showed the assembly line, and they showed him winter testing it in Alaska. You probably saw them crash testing it back on April Fool's Day.
I didn't actually see them crash it, though. I waited that whole damn video.
No one did.
It was all tease.
It looped about 5 times before I realized it was not going to do it. But I'm still mad that it's been like a month and they still haven't actually shown us the end result.
Do you think they actually tested it? I don't think they will. I don't think that was real.
I think it was real.
I think it was real.
It looked real to me.
Looked perfectly normal.
What do you think it was? Like CGI, or they just slowed it down?
Well, that's real footage.
Definitely, or they went backward. They started that close to the barrier and then went backward, but then reversed the footage, so it looked like they were accelerating into it.
No, it's all just high-speed footage.
There we go.
It looked very convincing if it was fake. I believed in it if it was a trick, but no, they got the dummies in there and the stitching on the side and everything, and the testing
they just need
wiring.
To stick me in it if they wanted a dummy.
You'd be a volunteer test.
I actually, to sit in the Cybertruck, I would, yeah. I'd be like, this thing's, and it just goes straight through the barrier that they're trying to run into.
That's the ending, is it just goes, it doesn't stop, it just continues. But, no, there's, I don't know if you caught the reports about, at Investor Day, they asked Franz a bunch of questions about the Cybertruck, and he was kind of spilling the beans a little bit on it, which is that it's probably starting with the tri-motor, and it's a 5-seater, not a 6-seater. And the center display is 18.5 inches, not 17, which is kind of cool. So it gets the biggest display out of all the Teslas.
Size doesn't matter.
It's not a 12-volt battery for the low-voltage stuff. It's a 48-volt Tesla in-house design. They're switching to more of their own controllers and the battery pack, the high voltage battery pack, is 1,000 volts instead of the traditional 400, I think, that all the others Teslas have, or 500. Yeah, hopefully they can just make sure it works with the existing supercharger network, though, because as far as I can tell, there's no V4 chargers in the U.S., but the Cybertruck's still going to be on 1,000 volts, which is going to make it a little challenging.
Are you getting one, Drew?
1,000 volts in your pocket.
Am I getting what?
Are you going to get one?
A Cybertruck?
Yep.
I don't think so. Why? Why?
Wait, why are you responding that way? Did you put a reservation in that we don't know about?
I promise you I didn't. Why?
We're just being very careful, Drew, because you faked us out so many times.
Like when I brought you here today.
I can't trust
Literally.
anything you say.
Yeah, if you want to see our
just
surprises,
think of
go
my-
watch the tech podcast and see our live reactions to Nick randomly appearing.
Just think of my personality, Randy. I told you previously that if I could do it all over again, I would have bought a Tesla with less range used. I still would have gone with a 3. And I'm interested in the Aptera, which I did put a reservation down on. And I would have made a video on it.
Yeah.
And I already posted a video today, so...
But the
Let me
Aptera
check the uploads.
is coming to you basically free, so that doesn't count.
Not really free, but...
You know what I mean? It's basically you're not you wouldn't pay anything what the actual price would be if they stayed true to it. So
What would I do with a Cybertruck, I guess is my question.
so much more.
You could give it to your friend Nick.
You would sell it. You would sell
That's a good reason.
You would sell the 3. You would sell your Aptera. That's just money in your pocket. That would either offset or outright pay for your Cybertruck. And the Cybertruck would have...
I don't think it would.
Would have the best screen, which means the best display, which means ProMotion, because we know how you are about that. And it would.
I think the Model X has ProMotion.
I need you to verify this, man. I need to know. I can't. I'm not that close, or I'm not that.
I should have gone back and filmed it in slow motion.
I thought you did. I thought you were going backwards. We talked about it.
You know what? I don't need to. I am the source. Trust me, bro. I feel that confident in my eyes. I trust my eyes that much. I've been in my Model 3.
Betray you.
I've been in my Model 3. I know what 60 hertz looks like, and I got in that car, and it was definitely not 60 hertz.
Well,
maybe it's not 120, but
it's not 60.
Still.
Well, imagine the Cybertruck now. The newest, latest, greatest BAMF on the block, and here you go, rolling up. They see me rolling. You would sleep in it. You would camp in it. Your studio would be in it. You would do all the things you do now, but with more space and less compromise.
The compromise is the efficiency. I'm the efficiency guy.
And the size. He's not really a big fan of big trucks.
No, I don't even like driving.
It's smaller than the model. Well, you guys never saw. Okay, I remember how thick that bad boy was. It's smaller than that.
I was looking at your footage today from the Peterson Museum.
Yeah. I look at it every now and then too, just to remind myself that I was actually there.
I think people are not realizing how big it is, and there's probably going to be a bunch of people that are first-time truck buyers that get the Cybertruck.
There's going to be a lot of
break things.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of side drive-throughs getting clipped.
Oh, jeez.
And there's no park assist.
Knocked down because the giant cyber wedge destroyed half of your Burger King.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I don't know if Nick heard. Nick, did you know they took off the ultrasonic sensors?
I heard something about that, and they're just doing the visual sensors, right?
The visual
Randy
sensors.
can attest how well it works with just the cameras.
Man,
Does it work super well?
Man, it just cancels on me. So the Model 3 has old better tech. The Model Y has none of it, but better. And in the same driveway, when I do the exact same thing, Model 3 just does it. Bring the car to a stop. Boom. does its thing. Model Y, bring the car to a stop. Boop, 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 and it just can't take control. Can't do unavailable at this time. I'm like, So
why do you
Every
even
time.
Tesla, bro?
why what?
My car doesn't even need ultrasonic, doesn't even need radars or computers, and it
Oh.
parks itself just
Mine doesn't
fine
have radar.
with this self-driving brain.
Because wait, I don't even know what your question was. What was your question, Nick?
There wasn't a question.
You said-
I asked Nick
Oh.
if he was aware, but
that's-
I guess my question is, and I was throwing this out on Twitter today, do you think it would have been better for Tesla to just say it's not there? Or is it better for them to say, no, the cameras will replace it eventually, you just have to wait for an update?
Ooh.
Just 2 weeks.
Yeah, we could
Yeah,
we could
just do
nitpick
this.
how Tesla should be doing stuff all day long, but
Yes.
I think we did.
I don't know. Yeah, I do it often.
That's what we're here for.
That's what we do.
I
So
do it
did.
often. Yeah.
I guess I have a
Alright,
question for
I-
Nick. Did Nick know that I reversed
Oh my
myself
gosh.
so many times on Cybertruck on whether I would get it or not that I decided that I'm getting a Ram EV instead of the Cybertruck?
Bro, I'm going to ram your EV if you don't get a Cybertruck.
Woo!
Okay. Has this the earnings report about the delivery event in September and the updated photos of the production tooling, has that pushed you closer or away from getting the Cybertruck?
As a side answer, what's annoying is the recent photos of the Cybertruck that were seen on the internet. I was on that road less than 24 hours before those photos were taken.
Sucker.
I was at
That's
the
a bummer.
intersection on Saturday and Sunday. I was in that area both days.
You're riding the bike in that photo.
I'm basically the guy riding the. No, I didn't get to see it. I wanted to see it. I do like the new design. Everyone's like, yeah, it's all pointy. I'm like, no, it actually looks better this way, shorter
I
front
like
and
it
all
too.
that. I like it a lot
Yeah.
more that way. But is it a good sign or not? Could you restate the question again, good sir?
Does this get you closer? Does that make you want it more or less? Or seeing all the... Also, now that we know it has the lightning frunk.
Right? You were right. Oh my goodness.
No, you were right. I was wrong. You were the one explaining it.
Well, so no. So here's how.
Okay,
it went,
fine.
right?
I was right. I inspired you.
Randy's always
All right.
right. The answer is always Randy was right first.
Yes.
Come on,
But
guys.
I believe how the conversation went was you saw that even seam at the what event was that? There was some event,
Investor Day.
Investor Day, and you saw the even
Yeah.
seam, and you thought it's going to have a lightning frunk, and I said it could, but here's how they would have to go around it: is that they'd have to put lights on the inside, which we still don't know what's on the inside of the frunk, but that's how you get around any of regulations or issues with having a moving piece that has the headlights, right?
Right.
And even so, we don't even know what the headlights are because all we still see is
Yeah.
a running light and then maybe some fog lights if they add those.
And I haven't even seen it at nighttime. I've only seen it.
exactly
in the day
what are the
anyway.
brights going to look
But-
like? Is it just the overhead beam light, basically the what's it called, the crossbar light or whatever?
I don't think that's a high beam, but
You think that's a
it
running
will.
light?
According to but Matthew Dr., who got to interview Franz, said that it will have that, but it's specifically for just like how trucks have it. It's like a off-road thing. It's not supposed to be used, I think, on
Interesting.
regular streets. It would blind everyone. It's a good thing, I think,
Yeah.
that it's way too bright.
Anyways,
But
I don't think either of us were wrong or right. You just had hopes for it, and I had points against it just because of how Tesla engineers stuff. They don't usually put extra lights underneath things because that doesn't make sense. They want to bring down the cost, so that way they have a nice
Right.
big margin so they can price it at whatever price they want and have full control of it because that's what they like,
Yeah.
having their fingers on the knob and able to move whatever.
right. Mm-hmm.
Does this make me more excited or not for the Cybertruck, and does it pull me in that direction of the Cybertruck more? Yes, it.
I don't think that was
such an
Drew's
extreme
question,
sin.
though.
I know, right? I think it's... So I'll fall back on what my comments were 2 or 3 weeks ago, is that I'm a fan of whichever one comes out first, and that will be the one that I'm more inclined to get. If the Cybertruck comes out first and
I think that'll come out first, personally.
Yeah, if I have the funds available and all that, and they reach out to me saying your Cybertruck delivery is ready, come pick it up. And which, of course, we already know there's going to be a huge scramble sometime between now and this time next year in regards to, like, reconfigure your Cybertruck. Here's the options that you have. No more FSD at 7,000 for you, good sir, and all that. It's just going to be a big scramble like it was back in, I think it was November or December with the Y back in 2019, where they told everyone to reconfigure again.
I remember that.
So I think it's just going to be that again. But what was I getting at?
Hey, Mike.
Okay.
Yes. I wanted to ask you a completely separate non-question that Drew definitely didn't ask before this one. It's my question and not his.
Let me finish then. I would say, whichever one comes out first, I'm going to be the biggest fan of, and that's probably what we're going to go with. But we still reserve the option in our own minds and justification that if the other one comes out and we get to try it out and it allures us more than what we have, so like if we have the Cybertruck and the Ram looks better, we'll switch to that. If not, we'll keep the Cybertruck, or the other way around, vice versa. That's what we'll do.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Rand.
My question is, and totally my question, not Drew's, but my question is, do you think the Cybertruck is actually closer to the launch date than the projected 2024 time frame that we were saying?
So I'm no prophet, just because I think I predicted that it would come out, I think, early this year, back in 2021, and of course we were severely wrong.
Everyone was wrong.
Yeah, I think there is a chance. It's just with their history with the 4680 Model Y, the issue there was like it was a whole new battery technology that they're still trying to figure out. And so their justification for delivery day was, let's put a whole bunch of them up and down the ramp and all that and call it a delivery day to our employees, and that's about it. And we'll just let our employees try to figure out the quirks and features of this new battery technology and try to suss out all the different issues with it. The difference with the Cybertruck is that it's not any longer new battery tech, because now we have the all-wheel drive Model Y available, not long range, on the configuration page now, which probably past Drew would have been like, maybe we should have gone for that, knowing that this is now the reality, but we'll get into that later. But
I wouldn't have, but go on.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for the short answer. But I think there's still that unknown factor with the Cybertruck of like still a lot of different things. Like, heck, look at Rivian with their automated tonneau cover. They had so many problems with it that they just cut it out, and it's no longer an option. The same with the camp kitchen and all that. They just cut it out because they couldn't figure it out. Same thing with the Cybertruck. We don't know what other features they have on there yet. That either they haven't talked about.
We don't know anything.
We don't really know much. And so there's probably a lot of things that still need to be tested. Heck, that giant F-150 power frunk and all that. They probably still have to figure that out and make sure it all works well and that it can latch itself perfectly fine without any issues. Same thing with their vault cover, whether that has solar cells in it or not.
I doubt it.
If it can reliably move up and down for how many cycles that they want it to have a life for. And the same with if they have a midgate, how weatherproof that is, and any of the logistics with that, how it drains and everything else. Same with the seats, the textures, the interface, because it's kind of completely different user interface than anything else, because it's their first truck.
Yep.
And it's got, I think it's a bigger screen, right? You said 18 inches.
Correct.
So
yeah, the UI is totally different. It doesn't look the same at all as the Model 3 and Y. So that's going to make it more time for software optimization and everything.
So to kind of wrap all this up or lasso it up and package it back to you, Randy, I think we're still going to have the same situation that we did last year, I think, with the 4680 Model Ys. is that they're going to have a delivery event. They're going to parade them around, and you're going to see them all around Austin as actual, like, delivered vehicles, but they're still probably going to be under employee ownership. And they're just going to be testing all the features to make sure everything works correctly. They can't really get away with what they did with the Y, with shipping it out within a year, because that was using a lot of tech that they already learned from the Model X and the Model 3 and the Model Y, or Model S. They already knew what a power front worked like on the Model S. They already knew how doors kind of worked on the Model 3 and all the other stuff with the Model 3 that went to the Model Y. So that was kind of easy to predict that,
Model Y is kind of like a Frankenstein of Tesla innovations all put together.
So that it was perfectly easy and fine for them to be like, yep, we can ship this out. Everything will be great. But with the Cybertruck, there's a whole lot of untested stuff that they still need to figure out. So I think, again, to wrap it all up and package it back to you, I don't think we'll see... I'm going to stand firm on this, I guess, for right now as my prediction. I don't think we'll see a customer-delivered Cybertruck this year. I think we'll see employee-delivered ones that are quote-unquote customer-delivered. But I don't think we'll see actual normal people or YouTubers, I guess, maybe if they want to cater towards the YouTubers and get a whole bunch of videos out there showing that we have the best truck. I think that'll come in like the first quarter of 2024 is when we'll finally start seeing the public actually get their hands on it and customize it, do whatever they want with it and all that, which is fine by me. I'm in no position right now. The money that I thought I'd have for the Cybertruck all those years ago when it got announced back in 2019, I don't have that yet. And so I'm perfectly fine with waiting and seeing what the product kind of becomes. But if I get that offer invite, you bet your darn tootin' that I'm going to accept it and try to get it and do whatever I can to get that experience, whether it is selling the Ram 1500 that we have right now or some other monetary things that we have to do. I'm not going to, of course, like sell my house and everything like that in regards to buying a Cybertruck like that. It'll be more of like more responsible ownership in that way of funds, I guess is what I'm trying
to get. I don't think that's irresponsible at all.
Oh, yeah, just living in the Cybertruck. Why not?
That's what Randy told me to do.
Yeah, right? So, yeah, I don't think, Randy, that we'll see a customer-delivered Cybertruck, like actual customer-delivered Cybertruck this year. But it's still going to be exciting to see them actually get production moving on them with their gigapresses and all that, and see more and more of them on the road. Like we've been seeing some of them in the Bay Area, but those are, again, more of like alpha/beta prototypes.
All right. I got another question for both of you.
Thank goodness. I'm bad at breath.
Yeah, no. And to give you a chance to recover, Mike, I'll even go first I'll answer first. But when do you guys think we are no longer considered, not we, but this sector, when do you think we're no longer in the early adoption phase in that chart? Is it 2025? Is it 2030? Is it whenever the government says we have to be transitioned? Is it when we hit over 50%? Is it...
That was my go-to. I thought over 50% sounds like...
But how do you...
Now this is most...
So the thing with that, I initially was going to say that one. I think I have said that one. But so this past weekend, I was down in North Carolina, and I turned heads with the Model Y because a friend's dad used to work for Tesla, and he stopped working right before the launch of the Model Y, so he never saw one in person. And he goes up, he's like, "Oh dang, and that's the performance." Like, yep. And so we went in the car, and I gave him, a rundown on it. And he's like, crazy how much I still remember after all these years about it. And I haven't sat in one since 2019. And he was, we were just kind of talking, but in that there was this one person who, anyway, I'm not gonna worry about that. There's this one person who's like, I've been thinking about getting a Tesla, but I have so many unanswered there's things I just don't know. So he talked my ear off for an hour to an hour and a half on just like, does it do this? Yes or no? Was this like blah 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 blah? And then near the end of the conversation, we got about like, you know, I told us like, because he's like, I'm sorry, I've been bugging you about this. And I'm like, it's fine, it's still relatively new, and you know, it hasn't been mass adopted yet, so I don't know. Or not, it has been, it's not massively adopted yet, so I don't expect people to know the answer to this. So my answer was like, it's, you know, it's so early adoption till like maybe 51% or so. But then I after I thought about that, I was like, I don't know if I actually agree with that, because how do we define 51% then by mass people, like vehicles on the road? Because
no,
you're talking about purchases. That's not. I don't think that's a good metric either, because so many people have and will hold on to older vehicles. They don't buy new vehicles like they do tech. So I don't have a proper way of actually assessing it anymore. I did think it was like over 50%. I think my new answer, when we're no longer in mass or when we are no longer in early adoption phase, I think my new answer will be, or is, as of today, when we have just as many stalls available for charging, and I'm not just talking supercharging, because that's like God bless us, am I right? No, I'm talking like you know, Electrify America, whatever Rivian's doing. But like, if we can't unify on using the NACS, then can we have the same continuity of locations? If all that is true, then I would say once we have as many stalls and charging stations out in the world as we do gas pumps, that's a good indication we're no longer in early adoption. That's my answer. So what do you guys think?
I think that's a decent metric. At least I think there's maybe 5% of cars on the road right now are EVs, which isn't a bad share in my opinion with the amount of cars there are, I guess, in the United States, I should say. 5% of cars on the road are EVs. My own internal justification, I think your measure is actually a lot more fair and accurate, or I guess logically accurate, in regards to like how you're measuring these cars and their presence in our world is not just measured just by numbers, but also by other factors that support them. So that way it's not like, yeah, we just dumped 1 billion Chevy Bolts into the world, so we did it. We're done. No. But I do think like when you approach at least like 10% of cars on the road are EV, I think that's a decent share at that point, because that's considering the fact that like, well, I mean, that's 1 in 10 cars, right? 1 in 10 cars already in the California are Teslas. So to say 1 in 10 cars in the United States are EVs, that means, well, just like I said, 1 in every 10 cars that you see while you're driving around is an EV, which I think we base things in tens, right? But at least with my mind, I think that's a decent fraction or percentage to justify that, yes, EVs are here. They're a justifiable amount that you'll see on the road. Yeah, you maybe won't see a bunch of them in Louisiana, where they're a little bit less privy to change and all that. Not to call it Louisiana, but what I'm getting at.
So you're saying it's just as blended as when you're driving on a freeway, you see, you know, SUVs, you see trucks, you see two-door, you see coupes, you see blah blah, and then you see EV, like the consistency now of me seeing EVs. Like I saw another Rivian this time in North Carolina, nice. And I was like, now they're starting to pop up everywhere, and you know, Rivian doesn't have a strong network out here on the East Coast yet. So the fact that like now it's starting to become this frequent for me, like that, it then furthers my like, at what point do we say this is not early adoption anymore? Doesn't matter. Like I don't count first gen products of something, and I don't count majority use of something, because there's a blend of, like, is it early adoption if there's more 4-door sedans than coupes? No, like coupes have been around for a long time, and they're not, just because there's less coupes doesn't make it an early adopter. Ford only makes a 2-door car that's not a truck in the United States, or they only sell it in the United States, where like the Fiesta and the Focus have been and the Fusion, those 3 cars have been discontinued from Ford, so they only make the Mustang. Right. And that doesn't, to me, like, that metric doesn't say, oh, then it's early. That's not how I can gauge it. So if I'm understanding you correctly, Mike, you're saying that same blend of like in this case, one every 10. Okay, that seems like it's pretty well integrated into the automobile ecosystem as a whole, on the transits and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm no statistician. I'm an engineer, so or chemical or chemist, I should say. So
well, too bad. These questions are final and factual, and you will be fined for inaccuracies.
Okay. Well, hopefully, if I don't get quizzed at the end of it, I'll be fine. I don't know. What do you think, Nick? Do you think there's a justifiable means to, I guess, gauge the integration of, what was the question again?
At what point are we no longer in an early adoption phase?
Yeah.
There we go.
I don't know. I think it's one of those things. It's one of those things, Perd. You know it when you see it. I think at some point we're gonna look up and be like, oh wow, where are all the gas cars? And somewhere between here and there will be that point we're no longer in the beginning. I think there is a case to be made that the early adoption phase is decidedly over. Like, I'm in Brownsville, Texas, like one of the most economically depressed areas in the country, and obviously we have SpaceX and Starbase, but I see tons of Teslas on the road, like tons of Teslas, and it's probably all for SpaceX and Starbase, but there are tons of Teslas. I'd say probably at Starbase, maybe 5% of the vehicles I see are Teslas, which, all the other ones are big white pickup trucks with tools in the back. So, basically any car that's not a work truck is a Tesla out there. Yeah. And then you got my car bumping around. So it is really cool to look at where we're at right now and be like, wow, like we're either close to that point where we're no longer in the early adoption phase, or we're already there. Like it's around this point, I'd say. Because is it really surprising when someone goes and buys a Tesla anymore? Like, I mean, people aren't like, oh wow, why did you get an EV? They're like, oh wow, you have a Tesla? Like, ooh, wow, that's cool. As it's not a weird thing. It's like very normal to get a Tesla, but
that's a good point. Expensive. I've talked about it a couple of weeks ago, Nick, that the process of getting the Model Y has drastically changed from when I picked up my 3, and even the conversations being had have changed. Like, this felt like a whole brand new experience again. Then being like, oh yeah, I've done this before. The only thing where I was like, I've done this before, was when they were like, do you need help with understanding the? I was like, this is not my first Tesla. Like, oh, here's your key. So
get out of here. Get out of here.
But that's a good point that they don't even like. In 2019, people were like, ooh, so ballsy and daring of you to just
can you even road trip, bro?
And now no. Now they go, ooh, nice rims or nice whatever, I don't know. Nobody cares. Nobody
nice
really
bank
bats an
account.
eye. Nice bank account. Yeah, they don't bat an eye the same way before. So that's an interesting point. What about you, Drew?
I don't think I could base it off of when DC fast chargers match gas stations, purely because I don't think they ever will, even when we're fully switched over. Because I think the majority of charging will still be done overnight at home, wherever you're parked. Even in apartment buildings, I think it'll over time become more practical to plug into a level 2 charger. That's going to be cheaper. The apartments that offer those are going to get more applicants, or people will pay extra to get an apartment that has access to that. And whereas gas stations, whether you drive locally or long distance, you have to go to one. And I don't feel the same way about DC fast charging. But I still stand by most of the global fleet has not transitioned, but if more than 50% of cars produced no longer have a combustion engine, I would say that doesn't feel like an early adoption. That's just like, this just becomes the standard at that point. Like, electric vehicles are most new vehicles. Like, that's what most of our manufacturing is spent on in terms of vehicle production, is electric ones. If most of it, once you can say most, I feel like it doesn't feel as early adoption anymore, even if it's a pretty small piece of the overall pie, because obviously it takes decades for all the Toyota Camrys from 2024 to make their way off. So I think it could easily, I remember Elon saying there's like 2 billion vehicles in operation on Earth. So even if we banned gas today and every vehicle sold was electric, it would, I think we sell like 60 million cars a year on average. It's like, it would still be like 20-something years before the whole fleet was transitioned. And that's with impossible production capacity. So if we had realistic production capacity, it's very likely there will still be some gas vehicles driving around even 40, 50 years from now. They might not stick around as long simply because the infrastructure for them might start to fall apart once most people aren't driving gas cars anymore. Gas stations will probably have to rethink their business model or deprioritize offering gas. I'd love to see what Buc-ee's does in an all-electric future.
Not going to happen.
Actually, Buc-ee's is probably the best set gas station because they already have something to do while you're charging.
That's where when I did my road trip down to Florida, Nick, I stopped. There's a Buc-ee's in almost every state between here and Florida, and Florida has more than one Buc-ee's. So I made it a point to route myself to the Buc-ee's because I had time to kill, and I was loving it. So yeah, Buc-ee's would be swapping out. I don't know. Think about it. On that note, then, Drew, think about how they moved diesel away. Like it's like a smaller fraction at the pumps. You got diesel, or they got some pumps. And granted, they're for semis and stuff, but they have other gas stations that are strictly diesel, and that doesn't hurt the sales or the process of getting gasoline. And I think that would be the same way again with EVs. Maybe they don't take away or tear down these gas stations, but in lieu of where you would have like right next to a car wash or something, like how many times do we stop at a gas station where it's behind the gas station, that's where they got the stalls at, or a hotel, like in lieu of where those things are at, they just kind of start giving attention to where the EVs will be at, and that's where they'll put the new version of gas stations, which in some cases, depending on your region in the United States, it could be a Buc-ee's, or if you're in this region, it could be a Wawa or a Sheetz. They can have dedicated pumps over at a Starbucks or a McDonald's. We see them at grocery stores, shopping centers, and malls. So, I saw one on the trip where it was at a bowling alley. I was like, shoot, if it wasn't so late and they were still open, I wouldn't mind. Hey, here's $10 and let's go play, kill some time. So, I could see in the future then with these charging stations, albeit Tesla or non, they build the waiting time around that, and like, all right, now there's a partnership for every Tesla. There's also a Blink, whatever chain that's out there, and you almost like expect, like, how many times would you go to I forget which one it is. I think it's AM PM on the West Coast. There's one where there's something that's connected. I think it's like there's a chain of gas stations where, like, wherever I go, they also have like a McDonald's, like there's a fast food whatever connected to it when you're inside and you can pick something up. Out here, it's Dunkin' Donuts. Almost everyone where I'd go to, there's a Dunkin' Donuts. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I could see a partnership like that where then it's like, all right, hey, new people get on the road. These Gen Alphas, that's what my son is. These Gen Alphas are getting on the road, and they like Jersey Mike's or something like. So everyone has a Jersey Mike, and so then kill some time, put your feet up, and it's expected that these charging times, like I got 5 minutes to kill or whatever, because you think about like, okay, maybe it won't always be 30 minutes to charge, but it won't be as quick as just sitting at the pump. And people can capitalize on that. And Buc-ee's is the best example of that, because you put your pump and you just walk in. Go get something if you want to and walk out. Or very rarely do I see somebody go to Buc-ee's and they just sit in their car. There's no point. It's a mall. It's a mini mall. Do that.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm trying to advocate is just put a Buc-ee's literally everywhere in the world.
I think what you're actually tapping the pulse on right now, Randy, is maybe that's the solution for Legacy Auto. Because they already have a problem with Electrify America. Electrify America is not doing any justice for EV charging. But what if companies like Ford kind of took the same path as Rivian, where they made their own charging network, but instead of putting it out in the middle of nowhere like Rivian does for their Adventure network, per se,
right.
Maybe it's not in the middle of nowhere, but decently away from a city or in a city adjacent to a terrain park or anything like that. For companies like Ford or GM, they partner up with AMPMs or Valeros or Chevrons or whatever, or even if they don't even want to do that because maybe they're just not going to transition, they're just going to die out, they could just partner with Subways or KFCs or anything else like that, so that way they can have some incentive to use their chargers. So it's not just exclusive to Ford. You can have a Kia and go to the Ford charger, but you can get some nice KFC while you're waiting and charging. I think that's probably a really great idea for these legacy auto companies that are struggling.
What if they I don't know, have the KFC charger and the Subway charger, and they're not compatible with each other, and you have to bring around a dongle keychain worth of adapters. So if you want to stop at the Wingstop charger, then you're going to have to use your Wingstop adapter. And if you want to stop at the 7-Eleven charger, it's going to be a different one. I think that's a super efficient way to do stuff. Also, sorry for my lighting, by the way.
It's all right.
He's just sitting there menacingly
in the dark.
I think realistically, I think they'd probably just default to CCS, in which then Tesla would get shafted there just because they won't be able to charge unless you have the J1772 adapter. But otherwise, yeah, it'd be pretty funny though. This is the Subway exclusive charger port.
Yeah, I like that idea though, Mike. That's a cool. That's a one way to kind of keep businesses around or alive and just kind of transition is incorporate Electrify America with the gas stations and keep the gas and build out on these, these corner spots, these lots, and put something more. You know how they go in and every McDonald's looks revamped or something? Like there's no more playground McDonald's and stuff. Like revamp your gas stations to not be scary. When you go there at night. Yeah.
Ronald McDonald in the sewers.
Yeah. I don't want to deal with
Fair
that.
enough.
No, thank you. Anyway.
Well, thanks for joining us, Nick. We appreciate you.
Yes, thanks for having me, guys. I'm going to disappear.
Thanks for making the time.
We'll catch y'all next week.
Yeah, this is a fun surprise. Appreciate you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye from the dog.
Bye.
Bye.